and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard, I'll be your host for this evening, and joining me tonight is a gentleman by the name of Justin Morgan-Davies from Bad Cat Games. And this episode is going to be called Keep Out of the Elements, You Bad Cat. Now, I know why it's called that, and you will know why it's called that. And just going to say a quick hello, Justin, how are you?
Hey there, fine. Hi, Richard.
So the reason we've invited Justin along tonight is it's a work in progress special, so it's to chat about your Kickstarter game, your up and coming Kickstarter game, Elemenz. Yeah?
Yep.
But as normal, what we like to do is we like to find out a little bit more about your past with the good old cardboard. So
digging around in my headspace then.
That's it. We're going to pick into the tiny corners of your mind and we're going to find out what's going to be sitting there. So it's all good.
I don't think we want to know. I don't know.
Just sit back, relax, and think deep thoughts.
Nice.
But on all seriousness, what's been your journey so far with board games? Were you an early starter with the likes of Monopoly? Did you get into your D&D? What's your kind of your journey been like so far?
Well, yeah, I did. I'm one of the old school, really. We started off RPGing at school, basically, with the original D&D red box.
Okay.
We just missed the chainmail days, but we started off with the old red box, which got pretty battered pretty fast. But we were the ones sort of in the playground furiously scrubbing off the corners of those terrible dice that we used to get in the set, so they'd actually roll and we'd actually get a decent result. But yeah, we used to start off with the RPGs up until uni days, when we got into the usual sort of, it was really Games Workshop that were doing most of the things in those days that, you'd see in the shops, and we'd get into things like Blood Bowl, the original Blood Bowl, which was, we used to play that 2-3 times a week. We had some kind of series running, and the old Fury of Dracula, of course, been re-released.
Okay.
But
the first edition of Fury of Dracula.
I assume it is the first. It's sitting behind me actually on the shelf. I've still got it.
Is it?
But
you keep a hold of that one, because I know. Worth a pretty penny now with it. Effectively
tiny cardboard chits and but that was good fun. And then of course we did some wargaming with Fantasy Battle and got into 40k a wee bit. We tended to be more Fantasy Battle, to be honest, because there was a good group of us at uni. There was about 5 of us, so the GM of our various games of AD&D and Warhammer and the like, he would sort of effectively be like a game master planning the battles, and then the 4 of us took up one of the Chaos Gods, because we never liked to play the good guys. Come on, we were always the bad guys. We wanted to rampage through towns and villages and raping, pillaging, and destroying everything that we could see. So all in good fun, of course. But
you sound like a typical Central Belt boy.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, never do things by the book.
Jumping back to Bloodborne, Blood Bowl, have you looked at the latest edition? Have you treated yourself and got yourself a copy?
No, I haven't treated myself yet, but I've still got the original old version with the old box, which still holds itself together. I think I'll have to check whether I still have all the miniatures, because I seem to remember some of them ended up face down in a pizza at some point. But
that's a story for another time, maybe, or maybe a story for just now. Was that some kind of rage incident where you threatened the team and said if you didn't win again, then it was pepperoni time? Or
no, that would have been an interesting one. That would have been a good threat. But no, it was these sort of all-nighters that we used to be able to pull at in uni days. So you could afford to have an all-nighter and just play like a series of Blood Bowl games. So that was really good. But yeah, we'd regularly have large scale games like Space Hulk, for example,
Yes.
We pulled together and got like 3 copies of Space Hulk, and then what was it, Gene Stealer and Deathwing, I think, were the other 2 expansions.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
either way, we used to run massive missions of that, where the entire floor of the flat was covered in cardboard pieces and miniatures, and landladies and stuff coming round would take one look and think, what the heck were you up to?
But at least they're good pairs and they're quiet boys.
Well, you'd think, yeah, but the music was pretty heavy in those days, so
Yeah.
I think you could hear us from the street. But yeah, so that was formative time, I think, for us, definitely.
It sounds like some seriously wonderful and brilliant hours wasted, which I think
Totally wasted, yeah.
I think if people look back, they say, I could have been spending all this time playing board games instead of going out and ending up face first in a field, wondering how I was ever going to get home and if I'd missed the last bus, which was one of these things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
we were lucky because we were down in Plymouth, so everything was in the city. So it tended to be, we'd be gaming at people's houses, but then once the games had wrapped up, we'd be off down the pub and frequently have lock-ins and stuff. And if you knew the right pubs, so we'd be talking games, all night basically. We lived it. It was great. Sadly, those days are gone. If we could
everybody
only go back.
drifted away. It's like the summer of '69, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody got married. Somebody lost a copy of Blood Bowl.
Oh,
Somebody else
yeah.
they broke too many of the Ultramarines in their copy of Deathwing.
Well, there was there was one odd incident that a friend of ours suddenly got into all the epic stuff and bought Space Marine with those tiny, tiny miniatures. And we didn't take it off the shelf for about a year, but when we did, the whole thing had just been converted into this weird kind of plastic cotton wool. And I think it was those silverfish or something that had got in and chewed up his Space Marines. So,
Really?
Games Workshop, they are not invincible, the Space Marines. They can be got by silverfish.
We're calling you out on this.
Calling you out,
Games
yeah.
Workshop.
Yeah.
Indestructible? Rubbish.
Yeah,
Taking
no
on
way.
Tyranids, if you want, but if you stick a couple insects in there, then they're finished. Basically, I think what
That's basically
we're
it, yeah.
saying here. So, I take it you finished uni, and I take it the big bad world of employment beckoned, where a man has to look at his life and kind of have a serious think about which direction he's going to go. And did the cardboard and miniatures follow you, or did you do what a lot of people did, which is put them to one side and then come back at a later date?
Aye, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's definitely it. I mean, I think we basically all woke up one day and thought, hang on a minute, we need to get jobs. We need to sort our lives out, not just play with cardboard and miniatures all the time. So yeah, we all split apart and went our various ways, and I came up to Scotland, and then so quite a time out really from everything. Although I did get into mahjong for quite a while then, just playing with friends and family and the like, and my wife, but that's not just the tile stacking, this is the proper Hong Kong mahjong. And I've always been interested in that kind of Eastern religions and the sort of esoteric side of it, which is, funnily enough, feeds into some of the ideas behind Elements. But so really, there was a gap there for quite a few years, and then started getting back into it. It was actually over with my wife's family over in France, and we just sat down one night with a decent few bottles of wine, as they do in France, and played Citadels.
All right,
Bruno
okay.
Feduti, with a full 8 players, and it was just, my God, this is so much fun, and it's so clever, and it's so slick.
And did everybody survive? There wasn't any casualties?
There was a few casualties, and amazing. But I suppose the thing was that I won the game, not actually having a clue how it really played, but just playing along, and I can't even remember how I managed it, but that was a surprise. And I thought, you know what, not just the fact that I won, but actually I really get how this game works, and it is so simple but so much fun that it just sort of sparked something off in me, and I thought, hey, I've got to dig out some games again. So that's where it all came from. And now it's just crazy. You can't look anywhere for board games, and there's just such a huge list out there that I actually try to avoid it half the time because otherwise I'd be spending my life going, oh, I really want that one and 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 oh dear, yeah.
And then what happens is you move on from saying I really want that one to now I've got this one and this one and this one, and then it's the third stage, which is I really should play that one and that one and that one. And
yeah.
that one.
Oh dear. It's impossible. I mean, that's our curse, isn't it? It's very much a curse of the gamer that you will always buy and have more than you can ever possibly fit into your lifetime.
And the other thing is as well is it's not like you've got some kind of legacy, because if you leave it long enough, it ends up being some kind of disgusting mulch in the top of an attic. I've never seen anyone that says, "Oh, this is my grandfather's copy of this wonderful cardboard game. What's it called? It's called Various Colours of Dust."
Yeah, well, very true. Although, bizarrely enough, I do actually have a copy of the Avalon Hill Battles of Waterloo, which I think I've looked it up recently. I think it came out in 1962. So I don't know if that was handed to us as to the family, or it turned up in somebody's attic or something. But that's a great piece of history, and it's still a fantastic Wii game as well. So that's more of a
it's almost like a family. This is what board games used to be like.
Yeah,
heritage type of thing, but
yeah. Now, of course, Fantasy Flight would do it again with tons of miniature, or Cool Mini or Not would do it again, but with loads of superb miniatures, and it'd just be a completely different thing, but awesome nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy Flight would probably do it with awesome miniatures as well, but then they would have a really, really huge box with ridiculously small amounts of storage, which is how they do. We have spoken about the Fantasy Flight trench on a number of occasions, but it's always worthwhile bringing up, because it is a case of you have a massive box. You provide some of the biggest boxes in the board gaming hobby space, and yet someone decides that they really like the Death Star, and that is how you should be packing stuff in. So, but what are you playing at the moment? I mean, that's,
Right, yeah, so quite a mix of stuff, really. Off the sort of top of my head, I mean, I've got 40 odd games sitting behind me here, but the ones that I'm sort of having fun with, and it tends to be quite sort of eclectic in what I choose to actually spend my money on, because it's more an intriguing game, a game that's intriguing to me in the theme behind it, or some particular mechanic of how it works that I really want to get my teeth into. So I would name things like Eclipse blew me away, because I'm a Twilight Imperium fan, and I just have had to take a look at Eclipse, and it's just so well done. I love it. And
you're
other ones
the
like
second person that has said
really?
Eclipse. Yeah, Frank.
Only
West.
second.
Frank. Well, no, the second person that's come on here and absolutely ranted and raved so much about a game, and the last person that did it was Frank West. And he was like saying, "No, you have to get it, because it is absolutely wonderful."
Yeah, I do think it's like it's a milestone, really, in the sort of modern space opera kind of games, and I would think that Fantasy Flight, with their recent Star Wars, is it Star Wars Rebellion, stuff like that?
Yeah,
I think they're carrying on and running with the torch from things that Eclipse pulled to the fore, I reckon.
Ah, right, okay. So you say it was flattery through imitation, I guess, is the correct phrase, so that they went, oh, well, we like what you did here, and we like also what you did here, so we're going to borrow them. Because it's still the case that you can't actually patent mechanics.
No, absolutely not.
But you can, it seems you can copyright words, which we found out. I think we found out recently on the episode we did with Chris Clue, where he has been not able to use the term living card game for his living card game.
Oh no, really?
He was going to use it, and he got a quick hello. As yes, see that living card game thing? Yes, you can't use it. And who's this? It's Fantasy Flight. We own Netrunner, the living card game. So he had to call it an expandable card game instead.
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yeah, which for the sake of a word, come on. Are we in a wee? Is that the kind of territory we're getting into? But
Well, I think, yeah, that's just a continuation of the tapping issue, and shall we say, and the Space Marine issue, which I don't think
yes.
we should go into.
No, let's.
But,
That's an entire. That's almost like a Newsnight type podcast,
mhm,
which we don't want
yeah.
to. We'll end up having to change the category that this one's in.
But I do think the imitation of board game mechanics, if you want to call them, it is the best form of flattery for a designer. And there are so many superb games that are coming out all the time, every year, that it's natural that people. I think it's only sensible for a designer to look at a number of as many different types of games as they can, and then sort of pick and choose. You're cherry picking. You think, oh, that's a great mechanic, or that's a really clever way of doing something, or I love that idea, that duality of that mechanic and stuff, and you naturally want to use them in your own games, but they're still going to be your game. But I think it's flattery, to the original designers to come up with these ideas, like Rob Davio and his legacy game, that's going to roll on. That style of game, I reckon, can roll on at least for another decade. It's only just started, isn't it? So,
I mean, it's very, very much in its infancy, and I'm already seeing it.
Yeah.
Kind of people kind of mention it. I mean, Jamie from Stonemaier Games, his next game, Charterstone.
Charterstone, that's right. Yeah,
he says it's going to be a legacy game about building a village. I'll try to think who else. John Gilmore is doing the Wasteland Express delivery service, and he says there's going to be legacy parts to that. I mean, if you look at Mechs and Minions, which has just come out, when you open up the box, you get like 10 or 15 envelopes that you have to open up, which contain new cards, and there's a big, huge behemoth in the box that stays locked for some time, which, everybody's been very good about not spoiling stuff like this, which is always... It's really interesting to me that, people are quite willing to not jump on with, like, pictures and go, this is what you get in this game, this is what you get in that game. And people are still very, very... still very careful even about Pandemic Legacy, even though we're heading into Season 2 this year, which is...
Yes, that's right.
Which just shows the strength of the community. I'm aware I jumped in on you earlier about Eclipse. So what else have you been kind of bringing to the table?
Yeah, so a couple of Kickstarters that I was supporting. One little one, Karmaka, which are the guys that did the Osmos phone game. That Karmaka is a lovely little game. A simple enough little card game, but it makes you think, and the theme is so rich. I think that's what makes that one really fun.
Okay.
So that's climbing up the karmic ladder. Basically, you've got 4 steps to climb up the karmic ladder, and it's a sort of card drafting game, I suppose you'd call it.
All right. Okay.
That's a fun one. Evolution by North Star Games. That one was one of those things that I'd had kicking around in my head for about 5 or 6 games. Coming from that sort of professional background, and always thought, somebody really should do a game about the evolving species. Of course, there was Dominant Species is another game.
Yes, there was. Yeah.
But which I haven't played actually. But Evolution, again, great little game, and in fact, that's something that we do that I encourage the kids to play, because I run, or Bad Cat Games basically runs a club at the local school.
Right, okay.
Of a Friday afternoon, just for the some of the school kids in the sort of mid-level at school, and it's. I'm not just going to be giving them like cash and guns, for example, and saying get on with it, kid.
Exactly. Here's Cards Against Humanity, kids.
That's it.
Here's the ones you're not allowed to use.
That's right. They've got away with exploding kittens, but that was about it. But no, generally, I want to. Of course, the kids of today can be the gamers of tomorrow, and they're the kids that are going to grow up and buy the games. So it's a no-brainer really to encourage them and enthuse them at this sort of earlier age. So games like Evolution and Pandemic, of course, is one that they've been playing quite a bit recently.
Pandemic kids have played Pandemic, and it is all about them just learning this is what losing is like.
Well,
It's
you
like,
say that, but they won last time, which really impressed me
did
because I turned my
they?
back for 5 minutes and it's like, yay, we won. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, but no, pandemic is a good one because it teaches sort of social interaction as well.
Hmm.
The kids have to work together, which I think is very different from, being on a computer all the time or on Xbox or whatever. I mean, I've
Yeah,
got two kids myself, a boy and a girl,
yeah.
and there's a lot of that kind of peer pressure nowadays. Kids go home and they just plug into a computer and off they go. So I think it's good to see them play these kind of things together and work together as a
Yes.
team. So these cooperative games are superb, or at least
No.
that's what I tell the
No, I
teachers.
mean, no, you're preaching. I mean, you're preaching to the converted here. I mean, I've spoken a couple of times about the kids, playing Pandemic, and then we've played games like, say, Mice and Mystics, which is another cooperative game.
Right. Yeah.
We've then played some fun kind of competitive games like, say, King of Tokyo, which is good fun.
Hmm.
I mean, recently we delved into games like Codenames, which is
All right.
a fantastic kind of educational tool for teaching them to kind of think outside the box when it comes to describing stuff. So I mean, that's been kind of very helpful. Have you been doing the group at the school for some time now?
No, no, it's quite a recent thing. It's only been started,
Hmm.
well, this year anyway.
All
Um,
right.
but we usually have a regular of about 12,
That's
12 kids that turn up, which is about all that we could hope for. I mean, in the future, I would definitely like to take it further and support some other schools in the area and just sort
yeah.
of see if it develops. Um,
No, no. I mean, my
but,
son, my son is my son's actually they've just started a board game club um, at his school. So
excellent.
I'm wondering if it's been something that maybe a couple of people have thrown together, because I think it was his case that he went along and there was a couple of people that a lot of the kids had like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so he rocked up
Yeah.
with King of Tokyo, and he says at the end of it there was like people, basically everybody was wanting to get involved in King of Tokyo because it can support I think up to about 4 or 5 players at
Oh,
least.
yeah. Yeah, at
So
least, yeah.
yeah,
Not
so he
including
would.
the expansions.
Yeah, I mean, so he was able to. He said it was a lot of good fun. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of value in introducing kids to. I guess first of all, the concept that board games aren't just Monopoly and even your Buckaroos and Frustrations and Cluedos of this world. And on the other side of it, they can push some really kind of challenging kind of things that kids have to learn about, like, say, teamwork, cooperation, problem solving, all these different things
Yeah.
as well. Going into a rage like a monster when you don't manage to burn down a city. These are all important. These are all
Yeah.
important kind of life skills, kind of going
They are,
forward. So
yeah, they are really good life skills, and I think there's certainly I've read quite a bit of research that's going on now, that sort of actually kids gaming in school or gamifying the school experience and the education is a way to get through to the kids of today.
yeah,
And
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, all of these things you just mentioned, they're all skills that you can pick up from games without even noticing. That's the thing. If
yeah.
they're entertained, then they don't realize that they're learning, but they are learning as they're getting on. So,
Well,
um,
yeah. No, I mean, in a world where you seem to see a lot of exams seem to be purely based around almost like learning the answers to questions as opposed to understanding stuff. So you get a lot of kids out there that, depending on the paper, they can go ahead and they can answer 150 maths questions like nobody's business, and they can essentially recite entire passages and answers to English questions. When it comes to them understanding exactly what they've done, it can be, a difficult thing.
oh
And I
yeah, it can
also
be a
think that
struggle. Yeah,
these practical examples, as you said, as we both said, they're very, very helpful in helping to educate maybe children that can sit at a book on working cooperatively against somebody
I
and just
think
read the
also, yeah,
passage and think,
yeah.
this isn't even sinking in. Whereas if you say to them, well, here's Pandemic, if you guys don't get to Atlanta, then you're going to lose the game. And it just, it clicks like that with them, and off they kind
That's
of
it.
go.
Yeah. Or you take these, the big trend, of course, at the moment is the engine building games. I don't
Yes.
know if they started with the likes of Agricola, but Agricola was a huge eye opener for me. What's great as well is it's inclusive of non-gamers,
Yes.
because you can say, you can slap that down on the table and say, right, we've had a nice meal, let's dig out this Agricola, and they go, oh, what's all that about? And you say,
Oh
well,
yeah. Yeah.
it's just, you're a farmer, you're a peasant farmer, and you've got to survive over the next 14 rounds or 14 years or whatever, and everybody immediately gets that. They understand where it's coming from, and yet it is a problem-solving exercise, of course. So
Yeah.
these sort of engine building games, I think, are really great because they're so inclusive of all different kinds of people, whether they're gamers or not really gamers. And I
Yeah.
think that's important. I see a lot of games coming out now every year that are really quite intense. They're really gamers games. And I love them because I can get in there and get my money's worth and get my teeth into the game. But um, at the same time, they only they're only pitched at a certain percentage of that entire market. Where you also have got to think about the people on the edge that are sort of thinking, what's this? What's this King of Tokyo monsters rolling dice?
I
Don't
know.
know. Maybe is that easy? Is that that's
Yeah.
often a question? Is that easy?
Making
Is that easy? Can I
decisions. Yeah.
understand that?
Making
Yeah.
decisions. Making quick decisions. Weighing up risk. Working basically on statistics. I mean, this is higher maths you're talking about. In terms
Yeah.
of engine building, one of the games that we've played a number of times at the club, and I've played ridiculous number of times with my middle son, is Steampunk Rally,
All
which
right. Right.
has the interesting combination of actually being the mixture of a race game, but also having you building certain components that build up into some kind of miniature infinity engine. So
Uh-huh.
you'll have like an electricity component, you'll have a steam component, you'll have like a fire component, but you'll have like what you'll have is you'll have like you roll dice
Uh-huh.
and you place the dice on the board, and it's like normal six-sided dice, but they're clear, transparent, and they've got obviously the six numbers on them.
Yeah.
But you use like different values of the dice in order to create movement or create shields or create. You turn like steam into electricity. You turn like fire into steam, and there's like you can build up infinity engines. It's certainly worthwhile taking a look at. I believe it's still kicking. It's
Yeah.
Roxley Games,
All
and
right.
it's also got an interesting fact that it's got it brings in lots and lots of famous kind of inventors. So
Excellent.
you've got like
So you
Marie
got a bit of history
Curie,
there.
yeah. So it actually goes through the back, and there's kind of like mini biographies of all of the inventors as well, in a kind of a friendly, kid-friendly kind of cartoon format. So that's kind of
I think
yeah,
that's
that's
the
kind of
ideal
worthwhile.
kind of game.
That's kind
Yeah.
of worthwhile
That
looking
sounds a
at.
good one. Yeah, I
It
didn't know
is.
about that one.
No, it's definitely worthwhile kind of tracking down a copy. I know that it's on retail release. I don't
Uh-huh.
know if it's you would probably be able to pick up from somewhere, but yeah, we like it. We like it an awful lot. Is there anything you're kind of coveting at the moment? Like, looking into. I mean, is there anything that you I guess you said in the green room that you've got a lot of games you'd like to play.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, is there
There's always
anything that you're really, really wanting to get to the table that you've heard excellently good things about that you'd like to get to the table at the moment?
um yeah, I was watching Shut Up and Sit Down and Paul, I think it was Paul's review of Feast for Odin.
Oh
And
yeah, okay.
that's an interesting one because um again, very famous designers, and you think, well, there's going to be some great. That's Yuri Rosenberg, isn't it?
Yeah, I
And
think so. Yeah.
yeah, and so you instantly think, well, that's going to be a clever game. So that was an interesting one to sort of go beyond Agricola, because I haven't played Caverna yet, which I think was the sort of same idea that came after Agricola, but then Feast for Odin apparently is another sort of step beyond that again, a new iteration of the ideas all being brought together. But I'm also a fan of his other game, Patchwork, which is the one.
I've heard people talk about this and say it's absolutely very, very simple, but also wonderfully kind of illustrated and also amazingly good fun once you get into it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's definitely a strange one because it was one of these sort of variable purchases that I would go for, and I thought, that sounds quite unique. There doesn't seem to be another game that's doing that kind of thing. So okay, fine, we'll give it a punt. And my wife and I, we love that, playing. Nice little 2-player, takes 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something.
Yeah.
But just for me, it is a very simple game, but the fun mechanic of it is the fact that you've got this spiraling time running out, and the more you want to do in the game, the more time you use up, and the less time you've got to then do what you want to do. And that, just in a nutshell, is just such a perfect little mechanic to be in a game. So hats off to that one. That's a great little game. Highly recommend it. So sorry, carry on.
No, what I was going to say is, let's talk about Elemenz. Let's talk about Bad Cat Games.
Oh God, really?
Yes, because this has gone down a route that I could probably spend hours and hours just talking to you about, kind of in terms of education and board games. Because
well, like I said, we should have been in the pub.
Other drinks are available. Yes. No, I would end up just talking nonsense. Probably we should have been at the pub. Bad Cat Games. I mean, you must get to the situation where you're playing lots and lots of games, and you're thinking, well, this is maybe potentially something I can do myself. So where did Bad Cat Games come from? How did it get placed on this planet and born into this realm?
Yeah, well, I think like a lot of designers out there, I mean, I'd been, as I said, I love the theme of games, but I also love to see how the mechanics work. So I will buy a game to take it apart and see how it works. And, there'll be things in there that I think, oh, that's so clever, and other things I won't be so happy with. But so I tend to find that I like to include house rules if I can, just to change things to make them better for me and the players we're playing with. And but I'd had, that obviously a spin-off of that is coming up with ideas for your own games for just complete stuff out of the blue. And I'd basically been knocking ideas around, probably about 6 different ideas for games for loads of years. But with this sort of explosion in the board gaming market, and I thought, I'm going to get off my backside and actually create some prototypes. And we've got a really good group here in central Scotland, the Falkirk RPG group. I said I would mention them. But
hello, Falkirk RPG. Have they got a Twitter account?
They do, yeah. They don't use it much because we use some other sort of online forum thing, to be honest. Okay. But they're on there, but as well as sort of primarily RPG, they do like the board games, and some of them have got huge collections like I have. So they're great, and they were just an ideal group to be able to bounce prototypes off and say, okay, well, what do you think of this? What do you think of this idea? And so that's really what really kicked it off. It was the excuse that I needed to get going. And there's basically 3 of us in Bad Cat Games. I'm obviously I'm the captain. I'm the one that's pushing it all along. But
okay.
I've got the other 2 are extremely supportive, and we're always bouncing ideas off. One of them, Grant, is a superb sculptor. So he sculpts his own miniatures. So it's great having him on board as well. And so it's very much sort of the 3 of us. But I guess I'm the one. Yeah, we have our own ideas for games, but I'm the one that's sort of pushing the games forward and actually taking them beyond just the concept stage.
Yeah.
So it's Bad Cat Games is very much my idea to get started, and it's it's an experiment, but it's something that I'm extremely passionate about, want to push forward, and actually make a go of it and get some games out there, be published, and join the huge group of really, really friendly people that are in the gaming industry. I'm talking indie companies here, but everybody's so friendly. I think a lot of us would have fallen at various hurdles if it wasn't for the support that we get from other designers, other publishers, not just in the UK, but all over really. So that's where Bad Kit Games came from. It's an opportunity, so we're going to push forward and make our mark. That's the plan.
Are you quite an analytical person then? Do you go into a lot of detail? I mean, I take it is your job quite an analytical day-to-day thing?
No, not at all. No, I'm not. No, that's not my way. I'm very much an ideas person, and when it comes to games, it's the theme really that fits for me first. The theme's really important. So where Elements came from was that I mentioned Mahjong earlier.
Yes.
And that kind of sort of Eastern religion, sort of a bit of esotericism, and if that's the correct word. And
listen, I struggle with normal words. If there's any words over about 4 syllables, I
don't know.
Tap out
That doesn't matter anymore. Just make it up and put it on the Urban Dictionary. It'll be fine.
We could just put it in. We could if it's rubbish, what I could do is I can go back and we can edit it.
You can edit it out, yeah.
And
lovely.
You can go back and you could say, yeah, that's very for the management.
Yes, I'll do a voiceover.
You must accept my confabularities.
Yes.
So. Okay, so, I mean, that's a lovely segue to talk about Elemenz,
Yeah, I guess it is. Unless we edit that out as well.
No, we're not going to edit that out. We don't. Yeah. Do you think I stand and edit podcasts for hours and hours and hours? I actually do. I'm kind of that.
Oh my God.
No, I'm that paranoid. That I'm worried about. No, no. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Elements.
Yes. So Elements was very much an idea that I cooked up on the way on in the car journey on the way to Europe a couple of years back, and it was just you got lovely hours to just think of stuff, and then you find you're in Inverness and think, hang on, I was going to France. But it does give you a great opportunity to think of stuff, and it was. We had been playing King of Tokyo quite a bit, and then there was Ryan Litzia's game Age of War as well. Is another one that's basically a sort of symbol on dice matching game.
Yes, I've heard of that, and frustrations with Age of War requiring a couple of horses and an archer. Or something like that.
Yes,
what do you need to do to take over the city?
Yeah, flipping archers. Yeah, they get me every time. Yeah, so I wanted to do something like that, and I literally just sort of once we were there on holiday, I just sort of went out to the local big toy stores they have out there and bought up a load of dice and a load of stickers and just started prototyping there, and then it was great, and the whole thing sort of snowballed out of that. But the theme was strong. Elements is a very visual game because it is basically a sort of dice battling game for 4 players essentially. But the theme had to be really strong because otherwise everybody would say, well, it's just like a King of Tokyo clone or something like that.
Yeah.
But so the theme was very strong, and I knew straight away that I wanted to sort of take. My thinking was that if these religions on Earth, we have these ideas of fundamental forces of nature and the sort of the 4 or 5 natural elements, your air, fire, water, earth, and then quite often I think it's metal, which is another one, or ether, I think is another one in one Indian religion. And you just think to yourself, well, if we've come up with that, then surely if there are alien races elsewhere in the universe, well, they might have these kind of same principles as well. And that just got me thinking. And so the theme of the game really slotted in at that point, thinking, well, let's just push it into space and have these 4 alien races that their cultures are actually very, very strongly thematically connected to one of these four elements. So you've got the four races, and that they live and breathe, and they look so strongly of the element that they come from. And so it sort of came from there. And but I wanted to keep it really simple. I wanted to just, because it was a first game, it's an experiment. You want to see how far you want to go. And although I had lots of other ideas to include in it to sort of expand it, everybody else was, when they play tested, was saying, no, just keep it nice and simple. Keep it a nice, tight little battling game. The kind of thing that any child of sort of 8+ will be able to cope with, but then it should still be tactically fun enough for adults to play. It is what we call a quick filler game, of course. That's one of the appellations, but
Yeah.
and it is. But I've seen, it's bizarre. I've seen at times playtesters just sort of rolling those dice the first time and then sitting there thinking, right, what am I going to do with these? Should I put them here? Should I put them over there? Can I afford to use this dice here now, or do I need to use it for something else? And you see their brains working, and I'm thinking, hang on, this is like a 15-minute game. That's going to take 15 minutes before you finish your go.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's like
they're not all like that.
A game with a simple kind of rule structure that can result in major analysis paralysis is always a win. And always the games that I've enjoyed are the games that cause Colin to have a furrowed brow and to be staring into space for 10 minutes. Because means I know that means he's kind of enjoying the game once he gets past the kind of the original kind of AP. But I mean, it's
but that was certainly not the that's not really how Elements goes at all. It's people are over analyzing really. If
you've not seen Colin, I can imagine, but I can't imagine people. I mean, it is in essence. I mean, you bring in King of Tokyo, but looking at the kind of the print and play boards, it seems a case that you're rolling dice, and depending on the sides of the custom dice that come up, you can then use that to use it for attacks. Each of the. Am I explaining that right, or am I taking a wild stab in the dark that you're just going to say that you're going to edit this out as well, because that was rubbish?
No, in a nutshell, basically, it's a symbol matching dice game where each of you is playing one of the alien shamans, and they're battling for, it's a kind of polite PC way of deciding which of these four alien races has ascendancy for the next 7 years. It's just part of the sort of lore behind the story, but essentially, yes, you have a set of dice which have the symbols of the four elements on, but they also have the fifth element, which is this element Z, which is why you want to call the game either Elemenz or Elemenz. It really doesn't matter. But that Z side of the dice is the wild side. That's your joker, which mimics any of the other symbols. So it's not just a case of rolling the dice, damn, I can't use them, then that's your turnover. You've got these Zs or Zs that you can use to mimic to the other symbols to complete combos, which, effectively, the simplest way of explaining is that they're going to do damage to the other players. But again, it's not you're knocking lives off or you're trying to kill them off or anything. It's basically that each of these dice represent your store of energy. They are energy dice. So what you're actually doing is draining your opponents of their energy dice, so you're the only one left and you're the winner, the Master Z as we call them. And that's very much, in a nutshell, the basic game. There's more tactics to it than that, and each of the alien races have their own special power as well, which gives them an edge, makes them different from each other. The Earth Shaman, for example, has much stronger defense, or rather his defense is cheaper for him to be able to charge up, but it's also quite brittle. So if that gets broken through, then he can be in trouble. Whereas the Fire player is much more attacky, but his attack powers are a bit weaker than the other players. He can just often pile out more than one in one turn. So the turns move quite rapidly around because it's a case you roll the dice up to 3 times. It's a standard sort of Yahtzee mechanic.
Yeah.
Roll the dice 3 times over, then you decide what you do with your dice. You lock them in to complete these combos, and then you fire off the combos. Some of the combos you can actually keep back, so you can hold on to them to then affect the other player's turns. So it's a kind of denial thing. But also the sort of heart of what makes it different, I think, from these other kind of symbol matching dice games that are out there, is that also the wild dice is, again, thematically, it's wild energy. And if you ever roll 3 Zs at any time in your turn, you basically lose control of the magic or lose control of the energy, and that's your turn over and you can't do anything. So that's a strong risk versus reward angle that anybody can understand. And this is the thing, the game is not pitched towards hardcore gamers. That's not our intention, because those that already have something like King of Tokyo, I doubt if they're going to be interested in buying Elements. Yeah, they might, but I'm just saying it's King of Tokyo is a clever wee game, and our game is different, but they have things in common. And but it appeals, I think, much more to entry-level gamers, or people that are really not gamers at all. We've play tested these games with friends and family who are not gamers at all, and it was kind of, right, look, get this out on the table, tell us what you think. And at the end of like 20 minutes, they were going, "That was really cool. Is this gonna? Are you gonna sell this? Can we buy this?"
But I mean,
that's what you want. I think you want to expand the gaming community by encouraging other people to get involved. And so these games that are on the fringes of that, I think, is there's always a place for them. And that's kind of where we're pitching it, I guess. That's not to say that we can't, that we haven't also designed it for gamers looking for a quick filler game or something like that to start off an evening.
Do you know what? Sometimes that's what you need. If you've got 20 minutes, half an hour, you can't break out the big bad boys of cardboard and lay them down, because it takes like 15-20 minutes to get them organised.
Just to set them up, yeah.
Like, yep, okay,
the days of Twilight Imperium.
Shall we play Eclipse? No.
Yeah.
No, because I'm low on fuel and you need a jacket. Kind of thing. But no, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes, for us, as I say, when I play with the kids, Codenames is a 2-minute setup. King of Tokyo is a 2-minute setup. Even Love Letter, Hive.
Of course,
these are all games that are all kind of 2-minute setups, which you can just bust out there and everybody can start playing really, really quickly. There's other games that have come out, that have been played recently. Temp Worker Assassins is quite a murderous little game, but it's very, very simple to set up, and it's also incredibly good fun. And then we've got but there's a place for that. And also I guess I share the same view, is if I can encourage 2 or 3 more people to say, actually, board games aren't just all about the cardboard, I'm really kind of enjoying what we're playing here, and if this makes it easy, then I'm all for it. And I think looking at what you've got to offer in terms of Elements, it is the simplicity, and it's the ability to be able to say, what do you want to do? Do you want to play Elements? Yes. Boom. Yeah. And then you're ready to go. You get your play mat out. Is it going to be cardboard, or is it neoprene that you're looking at?
No, it'll be standard cardboard,
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I did actually do some prototypes with the neoprene mat, and then had all these great ideas of doing a travel edition where you could just roll all 4 of them up and stick the dice down the middle. And we might still do that in the future for retail, because we do intend to. I think it's the kind of game that would appeal to the retail crowd. So that's certainly one of our intentions in the future.
That'd be cool.
But I should say as well that the benefit of Elements is it has like a 10-second startup. You exactly. Get the boards out, you get the dice out, and unless you're Chris and can't tell the difference between red dice and green dice,
right, okay.
then you're set. And but it is worth pointing out as well that we have, I mean, for Kickstarter, this is very much a limited edition set. And the thing about it that makes it different is not only is it a 3 to 4 player game on one side of the board, but there's actually a completely different 2 player game on the flip side.
All right,
But
okay.
yeah, but we're actually including, we wanted to include the totems, which is a different part of the game. It's like an expansion to the game basically, but we wanted to include that right from the start in the Kickstarter rather than say, well, okay, we've got to reach this level and then we're going to unlock the stretch goal of an expansion, because as far as we're concerned, we just want people to get their money's worth. And it is, the totems expansion does make it much more of a gamer's game, because it introduces and it's much more of an energy management game than simply a dice rolling take that game.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because each totem board, which is the second board that you get, and again it goes with the theme of having shamans. You can't have shamans if you don't have spirit totems. And but the totems have tokens on them, have 4 tokens which come out of randomly drawn from the bag. Everybody has access to the same tokens, and they can be used to fill in the gaps basically in your combos. So if you don't roll what you need to complete a combo, but you do happen to have a token which slots into that empty space, then that allows you to trigger the combo. And there's various other tokens in there, like you can start messing around with the other players' dice rolls and forcing them to re-roll and this kind of stuff. And it is a sort of a buff against your chances of getting a wild surge and rolling all of these Zs or these Zs. But it's a dwindling
is it
resource.
Z or Zs? I mean, that's important.
I've got to think of our American friends. So.
You've got to decide on that.
No, I don't think that's necessary.
I think it could be a tip. You will. I'll tell you what. You will get somebody in the comments that'll ask.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's very true.
I feel like somebody going on and saying, last week I backed Elemenz. This simple combat dice game with the Z energies.
Look, as long as they're all chatting on the comment section, I really don't mind.
As long as they're actually backing the game.
Yes, that would be handy too.
Crack on. You could call the dice Kevin if it makes you happy.
Yeah. Honestly, love, do what you want.
You just crack on. Here's some stickers. You can put whatever you want on as long as you've backed it. It's fine. In terms of what is interest you thinking about the funding and kind of the stretch goals and stuff like that. In terms of dates, the Kickstarter is out on the 16th.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it is about a week away.
It's exactly a week away. Yeah, we're going to launch at noon, because, why not?
Yeah.
I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, of course, because, being international, everybody's in their own time zones anyway, so... Yeah.
And let's face it, everybody will wake up for a nice surprise if they are kind of over, if they're over in the States and stuff like that. We're like, oh, that's nice. Yeah. So they'll go ahead. But what the kind of the levels have you decided on that? The kind of what the base game's going to cost?
Yep, the base game is £24, English pounds, British pounds, and got to be careful.
Got to be careful.
But we do have an early bird on there, which will just make it a wee bit cheaper. Because I think we're a new company, we're an unknown company, yes. And as I said earlier, we really want to offer the backers as much as they can get, really. Want to offer them a good deal, and but we're being very sensible about it. We don't want to chuck the kitchen sink into the project and have just tons of stretch goals and stuff. We do have a fair number of stretch goals, but they're not going to be crazy things that, to be honest, are not necessary for the actual game as a whole. I do see a lot of Kickstarters where they're just sort of throwing everything out there, and you think, well, fine if people just want to buy that kind of thing as an add-on, but it's not necessarily going to add anything to the game.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of double thing, because we've been talking. I mean, obviously we talked to a few people. I mean, one of the guys we're speaking to at the moment is Peter Blenkern, who is, of course, running his Subterra campaign, which is about to hit 200k, and I think he is he is getting to the point. He's getting to the point where he's kind of like going, I don't know what to do. I've no
Don't know
idea.
what to add next.
We're kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm kind of beyond stretch goals. I'm on new game plus stretch goals kind of thing. That's where he is with that, and
yeah.
it's a nice position to be.
It's a lovely position to be in. Yeah, absolutely.
But it also, I guess, it puts you into the position where do you draw the line and actually say stop? And currently, I am trying to persuade him to put some bearded meeple stickers out there.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, get some bearded meeples on there.
Yeah,
Yes,
and you
that's
know
what we want.
Yep, and I've put it in the comments of the Kickstarter, and
Great.
there's people now demanding it. So
Is there really?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Because it caused them to go back and listen to this quick episode, and next
course,
thing you know,
of
there's
course,
comments
yeah.
turning up going,
Very good.
I think bearded meeple stickers are the way forward, and he's just like, what are you doing? I says, I'm just making my dream a reality. If you're not
Yeah.
going to stick false beards in the campaign, then I'm getting my bearded meeple stickers one way or another. So we're in
Very
aggressive negotiations, I think you call it.
Oh.
We'll see what happens. What's the mood like in the Bad Cat camp at the moment? Are you excited? Are you slightly nervous? Are you just kind of, well, we've prepared as much as we can prepare?
I think all of those things. We are definitely very excited. You know, I mean, this is a brave new world and all that, but it is exciting to be launching something like this. And yeah, well, it's when it comes down to it, and what a lot of other people that have been through that, like Kevin and Hugh at Inspiring Games, you know, these guys, they say, you know, there comes a point where you just want to launch it and you just want to get going and you want to see what happens, and it's all exciting, but yeah, you're nervous at the same time, of course. But, you know, we totally stand by the product as well, and
No,
you know,
I mean, it looks
as beyond
interesting.
this, I've got, as I said, you know, Gladiatores is
Yes.
planned for later in the year, and then we've already got prototypes of the next two games that we've got planned. One of them's another sort of family-oriented game about insects on a picnic table, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But
Cool.
it's a lot of fun, and you know, everybody we've playtested it with say this is an awesome wee game. Get it out as fast as possible. So that could be a fun one on the horizon. And then there's lots of other things, but we're not tied down to any particular genre. You know, people say, well, you know, what's Bad Cat Games wants to be famous for in the future?
Yeah,
And it's not a case of that. It's you know, we will design whatever game we want to sit down and play ourselves, you know, and we'll go out there and spread the word about it. And if like-minded gamers will come along and say, yeah, we want to play it too, then great, you know, we're on a roll on that one. So yeah, miniatures games, big box, 4X games. We want to go back to the sort of lore and the creatures of the Elemenz universe, if you like, and do a much bigger game of that.
Yeah.
Which we're sort of interested to maybe give it a bit of legacy feel to it, but I'm not sure if we're going to go that far. But certainly, the plans written are exciting, and I think it's going to make a really fun game. So there's that in the pipeline. Yeah, quite a few.
Do you want to? I know you talked. You know, Gladiatores is not. You know, you're looking potentially later on in the year. Do you want to give us the kind of the whet your appetite kind of thing about what it's all about? It's, you know, it's obviously not a clever name. I'm guessing that potentially there could be gladiators involved, but I'm willing to be corrected on the said mentioned statement.
No, you're pretty close to the mark on that one, yeah. Well, Gladiatores was, and it's called that, I should say, because Gladiatores, R-E-S on the end, is actually apparently the correct Latin way of the plural of a gladiator. So this is a game all about gladiators, and I actually had the idea about 4 years back, and then of course Spartacus came on the TV, and then everybody started doing gladiators games. And so I just shelved it for a while, to be honest, and sort of continued tweaking it in the background. But yeah, it's a card game. It's purely a card game. Do you ever remember a game, or if any of your listeners remember a game called Lunch Money by Atlas Games? It was a wee card game where you're playing a child on a playground, and you're beating the bejesus out of each other with all kind of martial arts moves,
That actually
all for the
sounds.
sake of
Yeah.
stealing your pocket money or your lunch money, obviously, because of the title. And yeah, I picked that up in some dodgy gaming shop in Bradford or somewhere, and I think it was, and it was a fun wee game. But I always felt it could go further. So add that in it. That's the sort of spirit ancestor of Gladiatores. So it's basically a card-driven combat game, but you're not actually playing just a single gladiator. You're actually playing the Lannister, who's the owner or the trainer of the gladiator school, and you're putting forward one of 5 different gladiator types into various events to win glory, fame, money, wealth, and ultimately to be allowed to go and present in front of Caesar in Rome.
Cool.
But it's in its heart is very much a blow by blow combat card game where each of the cards represents one particular move that you can do based on the equipment that you have. So obviously the Retiarius is going to be doing a lot of trident thrusts and that kind of stuff, whereas the Thracian, for example, is going to be hiding behind his shield and using his shield to block a lot and that kind of stuff. But it uses a very simple trumping system where one card will be good against certain other cards and other cards will be good to trump that card. So it's a sequence of cards that go down and on top of each other. One trumps another, and so on until somebody runs out or chooses not to use a card to be able to sort of break that flurry of blows, if you like.
Yeah.
But beyond that as well, you've got the secret dealing of the Lannisters going on, because there's various roles that you can play in the game, which give you secret advantages, which you can trigger during any of these sort of duel events or these sort of melee events. And there's tactics as well, which you can also trigger that gives you special advantages. Because the thing about having the hand of cards, it's not a play card, draw a card type of mechanic. You actually start the game with 16 cards which are specifically geared towards your type of gladiator that gives you the moves. They give you the moves. So again, it's very thematic because you take that hand of cards and you think, these cards fit this gladiator. They're not just generic, they're not randomly drawn from a deck. Obviously there's attack cards and defense cards, and then there's sort of special effects cards which tend to be combat finishers. But that hand of cards is basically the energy or the stamina that you have to fight the fight and survive and be the last one standing. And so there's also an element of card management there, because there's sometimes you literally think, I could play more cards, but you know what, I'm going to take this on the chin because I don't want to lose any more cards, because you get into a sort of trading of blows to the point where you completely forget about the other players. And they're all sitting there giggling to themselves because they're watching you burning out all your energy. So, because effectively, if a gladiator's burnt out all his cards and can't fight on, then that's it. They're out of the fight. Then the crowds are not going to be happy. So there's that. So it's basically a card game. But it has the sort of secret rules, the secret tactics of the Lannisters behind, where, for example, you can actually throw the fight. So you can say to your gladiator, I want you to fall in this fight. But in doing so, that's fine because I've used you to help the other guy win because I've bet on him. Because there's a sort of gambling betting element to it, which I think is, from what we've been told, certainly is quite different from the other sort of gladiator type arena combat games that are out there. So that makes it a bit different. And then it's all about wowing the crowd, and the crowd gains you favor, which you can cash into a sort of mini game that allows you to generate glory. So there's a mini game there where you're trying to complete what we call the glory wheel. And by doing that, basically, that's where your victory points come from to work out who's actually won the game. So you tend to play 3 to 4 rounds of the game. So that would be 3 to 4 different events. And each time you have to draw a different gladiator from your set of gladiators, go up against the others. And it's great not knowing how the other players play and sort of learning as you go, and obviously being quite careful yourself with the cards that you choose to play and how you play them. But again, it's quite a fun game. It only goes on for sort of 90 minutes or so. But
Right.
the amount of times every show that we've taken it to and got people to sit down and play it, they really enjoyed it. You know, they wanted to play. I was sort of saying, so there's the game. What do you think?
Yeah.
You know, and get some feedback, and then sort of there's other people waiting to come and play the game, and you want to sort of move on, and people are still sitting there, and they go, we really want to play this again. Can we play this again? So it's difficult.
It's the best result you want.
Which is the
isn't it?
best result, absolutely.
So,
Makes it a bit tricky when you're doing on multiple tables.
Is Gladiatores, is that going to be coming out on Kickstarter regardless
Yes.
of what happens with Elemenz? Is that
Yes,
plan?
absolutely.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah. I
cool.
mean, yeah. Regardless of what happens with Elements, I mean, hopefully, obviously, we hope and expect to at least fund, and we'd like to be able to unlock some nice stretch goals we've got planned. But
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
we've got to be obviously very sensible in what we're doing, because we are very small. We're a micro business basically, so, and we're just starting out. So yeah, regardless of that, we'll be pushing ahead with Gladiatores. So yeah, if it's not third quarter this year, then it'll be very shortly after, because as I say, it's like 90% ready.
Yeah.
So push that out, and you know, see how that does, and you know, we'll just keep rolling, and
Cool.
you know, with these different games.
So if people want to keep an eye on Bad Cat Games,
Yeah,
where can they find you on the fabulous internets?
yeah, on the intertubes.
And
Well,
interwebs.
yes. Well, we obviously have our own website, badcatgames.eu.
Yes.
So we're not a co-UK, we're not a com, we aren't badcatgames.eu.
Okay.
Very European is how we are. But also we're on Facebook at Bad Cat Games, obviously, and Twitter as well. And we regularly post stuff up on Instagram too. So, you know, pictures of the games, you know, and the artwork for the games, and prototypes and new stuff is getting put there from time to time as well. So any of those channels, we're all over social media.
Well, we will make sure that they all go in the show notes, as we say, as normal. So we
Yeah.
have some notes to show.
Fantastic.
If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, and I have no idea why so many of you still do. We love you all. Thank you very much. It's just, you know, I'm just like, I could do no wrong. I could say anything at all, but it's not true at all, because we do appreciate everybody who comes along and listens, whether it be the first time or the 44th time now. This is kind of turning into something quite serious, like some kind of disease. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, then we are also all over the internet, and you can find us on the usual places: Twitter at We're Not Wizards, and Facebook at We're Not Wizards, and Instagram, which is sadly neglected, but we're going to put more photographs on it, we promise, at We're Not Wizards. You can also email us, which is magic@we'renotwizards.com or .co.uk. If you like what you've heard tonight, and this is me putting my little doggy begging eyes on, please feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. And as I am always saying, you know, don't give us a 10, because that just inflates our egos. But don't give us a 1, because that makes us cry. So give us maybe a bit in the middle, like a 5, you know, kind of average, which is where we like to sit. Justin, I've had a lot of fun. It's been really interesting, actually, and it's kind of, I could probably continue talking to you for, you know, a good couple of hours, and
I think we probably will, yeah.
We shall do this pub thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that we need to make sure that everybody is aware of, and the first thing is, of course, that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Justin?
Oh no, definitely not.
Definitely not. We are gods from another plane of existence with our Z or Z energy. I'm only messing with you. And the second thing to do is to say goodbye to all the lovely people listening tonight. So it is a goodbye from the utterly fantastic and thoroughly interesting and all-round good lad, Justin.
Yeah, bye, folks. Bye, folks. Bye from Bad Cat.
Bye from Bad Cats, and keep an eye out on this Kickstarter. The 16th, we shall obviously be doing a little bit of tweeting out there to make sure that everybody's aware of it. This
Lovely.
will be in your ears to prepare you before the campaign goes live as well. But until the next time, stay safe, roll those power dice, and watch out for alien gods from other dimensions. Bye for now.